Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi.
Hivin and Vibin with Dr. Bibi, and today we'll be doing the program How Do You Lead? So we have with us Mark Herre. I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong, and it is Mark Herre. Have I got it right?
Yes.
Mark? Perfect. Thank you. I'm so sorry for not getting it right. But then let's move on. Mark has been in his current role as CEO at SEO Game since 1996. Can you just believe it? I was going to uni at that time. Oh my God, that's long, long time ago. So there's a lot of questions that we'll ask about how he has developed his company and how he has sustained himself. And let's not spill all the beans right now, but go on to before that, he was actually a bookkeeper and a Japanese cook living in Seattle. Now he lives in Salt Lake City with his three daughters and wife. Uh, an interesting thing is that Mark actually started networking in the 90s for another company which he founded, and it was called 123intro.net. So let's welcome Mark Herre.
Hello, Banya. Nice to meet with you again. We've known each other for a while, and you have a perfect bio of me. That's amazing.
Thank you. So, Mark, how did you begin SEO Game? 1996. I'm just stuck there. So let's begin from there itself. How did you conceive of SEO Game, and what was SEO Game like at that time and what is it like now? Let's go through that.
Love it. Now, my first company in networking was a ISP, an internet service provider, and we fixed fax machines and got everyone on this lightning speed dial-up back in the day when you heard those dial-up modems hum. And I sold a service, a $9.99 junky service. I joined the chambers to think it was about pitch slapping everybody in the chamber. Hey, you got to sign up. And that was why you joined. And I learned quickly, somebody brought me to their side and said, you know, it's about relationships and networking. No one really, and can I be brutally honest? No one really cares about your stupid $9.99 dial up. It may be great, but it's not what you do in the chamber. And it was enough advice and wisdom to help me even come up with my second company, because he brought me in and he said, it's about relationships and networking. And I learned something about that. And he helped me even better than that. He actually took the time to show me people in the network of the groups that I had these Chamber of Commerces that I joined, two of them. And he said, now help me pick out your ideal client that you want to work with. It's about relationship. Do you want to work with this travel bureau? Do you want to work with this web design? Do you want to work with this yellow page company that does website development? We have them all here. And I'm like, oh, yes. And it was so inspiring. It was enough to create a second company. I sold the ISP and began to look at people in the Chamber of Commerce as a potential relationship, and they would see value in the service that I have. So I pivoted. I did a big pivot with my new company at SEO Game in 1996. And it began there with the value and the relationship that I had to offer as a white label SEO. And these marketing companies, this Yellow Page Travel Bureau, they loved that I knew everything around SEO, search engine optimization, and I became a vendor and a partner for them. So fast forward 30 years, I consider myself as a vendor or partner for marketing agencies and SEO companies.
Right. So, what exactly does SEO mean? Let's start at the absolute grassroots level and say, what does it mean, and how do you then play a role with the marketing companies?
Well, in 1996, it began with SEO meant search engine optimization, search engines with an S at the engines part. There was no Google. And years without Google, it meant just all these marketing agencies and these business owners that I worked for the marketing agencies, I took over their book of business and helped them. They wanted search engines optimization. And then Google came around and it became search engine once again. For about 2 decades, we've been just search engine optimization. Now it's back to what it was like in 1996. If anyone remembers what it was like in 1996, 7, 98, 1999, it was all about multiple models to work with. Now we have AI models like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and there's just so many different models, AI search modes. And we love that we have now competition with Google, but we still can see that Google is still out there, and we still help in search engine optimization for Google and all these other models to get more AI search recommendations. Yeah.
Right. Why did you choose to move away from bookkeeping? Because bookkeeping and marketing are so different from each other. How did you land up becoming a bookkeeper first and foremost?
Well,
And then
yeah.
how did you then choose to get into marketing?
Well, I lived in a different city, and I was 28 years old and single. And I was a bookkeeper in Seattle, Washington. If any have watched the movie Sleepless in Seattle, I think I was the inspiration to that movie before it came out. So what ended up happening is, a bookkeeper, I had a degree and I could go to office and work in behind the scenes. Kelly, temp services would love me to basically fill in for women having maternity leave. And I was a fill-in for bookkeeping. I knew the ins and outs of bookkeeping, and I wanted more in life. And I left the state of Washington and I went to Utah, Las Vegas area, where I went to college to learn about entrepreneurship. And in college, I had advisories around me. I had roommates. One of my roommates happened to know everything about dial-up. And so I said, hey, I think we got a combination here. You know everything about dial-up, and I know nothing about dial-up, but I can definitely, with my bookkeeping skills, figure out how to run a business. And we have this advisory at this entrepreneur liberal arts college we attended together. And that's how I started my first company. We brought in people, employees, we were doing great. And then I sold that part and went into another business, which was marketing, right? I first owned a technology company and didn't know much about marketing other than just pitch slapping people in the Chamber of Commerce. And then just went through that change with, good advisory around me, good people in Chamber of Commerce networkers, and also in, the college that I attended and basically landed my second degree of entrepreneurship.
Right. So you did, so you worked, no, so let me understand. You started working and then you went to uni to study again, and then
Yeah,
on entrepreneurship, and then you came back, and that's when you started the marketing whole thing.
that's correct. Uh-huh.
Right.
And at the same time, doing it at the same time. I didn't just wait around until I got a degree. I had a family by then. I had kids to feed, so I had to make these things work.
So where did the Japanese cooking figure into all this?
That was a high school job that lasted for years, 10, 15 years. Do you know those people that cook at Benihana's and they're out on the floor throwing an egg on a spatula? I ended up going to that level. I was learning that trade, but I was a Japanese chef in high school and college, and then I even took my knives with me when I went to Portugal. I served some time in 2 years in Portugal, and I even learned how to entertain the people I lived with in Portugal. That's different from the United States, right? And so I left to go to Europe, and I came back to Seattle and became a bookkeeper after that, because I didn't like doing that anymore either. That was a fun ride, but when you transition when you leave places. Like I left Seattle to go to Portugal, serve people, came back after 2 years, decided after I wanted to go back and make some money, right? I knew how to throw a knife around and cut up onions and make sushi, but I didn't know much about the world. And then I just said, you know what, bookkeeping sounds interesting. Let's go into bookkeeping. And I learned about the business model of business math and all that.
So that means you can make a mean sashimi for us.
Yes, I could. And then I have my one of my daughters married a Japanese fellow, and so and their family is from Japan, and they live here in Utah with me, and I'm always over there, and it's great. And my 16-year-old daughter's learning Japanese, so I like to cook at home a lot.
Oh, lovely. That is so amazing. I just cannot stop admiring how thin the Japanese cooks can cut the fish. That is so amazing. That thinness is something I could never ever do. I don't think I'll ever be able to do.
It takes practice. Like I said, I was not a really good sushi. We did a lot of cheating with our sushi, but I moved on from, some Japanese restaurants, they don't have sushi. One Japanese restaurant I had, we didn't have any sushi. And they usually have a sushi chef that's much more expertise. I was more of the steak guy. I knew how to make steak sauces, and I'm a steak guy, kind of.
Ah, lovely. Okay. So you must be knowing how to make a teriyaki sauce from scratch.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's easy.
That's easy. Yeah, that's true. So when I was studying business, I actually had, I forget the name of the restaurant, but that restaurant, Japanese restaurant, was our case study of how they actually moved from making, hand cooking, cooking by hand into a mechanized form that could be used so that they could increase production. And that became a case study for us. I forget the name of the restaurant, but I know it was somewhere in New York.
Nice.
And we had to study about that, yes. And how they would have the entire thing done in front of the customers, and the customers could actually see it happening, and all that you spoke about, juggling the knives, etc., all those things, plus getting it done at real quick time so that they could save time and improve their production.
So imagine this for a second. Imagine you're the only chef on staff right now working, and you're at a place where an entire bus of Japanese tourists come off the bus, and they found you on, that you're a Japanese restaurant, and they all show up, and there's now 50 people in your restaurant hungry. That's a lot of the problems I had to deal with, right? Like, oh crap, what am I, and you just start cooking, and you run out of food, and you.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I can get that. That is what I think is what I think it's a restaurateur's dream and also their nightmare if they run out of food. But running out of food also means that they're getting that many customers who are coming in.
Yeah.
So let's now move on to how did you actually see yourself grow? Like you said that you became a Japanese cook. You did that right from high school to uni, and then you went on to you went to Portugal and you did that. You returned and you started bookkeeping, and then from there you went to uni to study again business. You went to study business, and then there you met someone with whom you could start your marketing thing, and that's how the entire thing started. And then you did your networking company. So this SEO Game is which number company of yours?
Oh, it's my second company that I've owned. Well,
and the first was
the first
1, 2,
was
3.
the ISP with a partner, and I was able to get out of that one by saying, you do your dial-up stuff and I'm gonna move on. So,
Okay.
but I had technology to help me start because I had clients that were marketing agencies and SEO people who I felt like I wanted a relationship with. I'm going to learn a lot from my clients, but I have something that they don't. I have this technology background, and I know how to make things work better than what they can do by just hiring someone off the street. And so in the 90s, you hired people. Recruiters would recruit people, and they would job place you. I left Utah, where in St. George and Las Vegas area, where I would then go to Denver, then during the dot-com bubble to San Francisco, and I came back to Salt Lake City because I could. Things worked out good back then. That was how you get employed. Still was, newspapers were out there, yellow pages were still available, and recruiters they were called headhunters. And once they found out you had a certain skill set, they would just pick you up and they would just say, hey, would you like to go to this part of the country? Would you like to go here? And luckily I got to enjoy that period of my life, to learn from moving from Las Vegas to Denver to San Francisco, to learn to come back to Salt Lake City and do it all, and keep my company and work for other people at the same time, but keep my core company and learn how production works in other marketing companies. And so that was a blessing for me. And it's hard to do that when there are still headhunter recruiters finding people with talent and placing them. You just ask any headhunter about what high talent people are looking for to fill positions, but it's rare that they're doing it like they are today. And you have to have a really good high level skill, where I was in that experimental stage of, I'm an SEO, white label SEO company, and I have a skill set that does this and that. And they were like picking up on that. And that was enough to move my whole family to a new city like Denver, Colorado, to San Francisco, and just go for the ride. It was an interesting time.
So how many cities have you seen? How many American cities have you actually lived in?
Well, 28 years I lived in Seattle. Then I lived in Utah and Las Vegas area for about 6 years. And then I moved to Denver, moved to San Francisco, and I'm back at Salt Lake City. I'm good here. I like to stay here.
Lovely. And all this moving that you did, how did it affect your company? I mean, how did it really help you to grow, or what was the flip sides of so many relocations?
Well, it was only, Denver was a year, San Francisco was a year, very quick. And I learned that while I was there, it wasn't going to be a long thing. I took advantage every day to look to sometimes get out of my work job and go home early, go do a lot of things, and then show up with a box of donuts to another marketing company and tell them about my company and say, listen, I'm here to tell you about what you're doing wrong. And showing up with a box of donuts and getting to talk to people who needed my skill. They didn't have it. They didn't have the technology. So that's how I kept growing. And later on, I could live just in Salt Lake City, and I can just do everything by just email and tell people about it. I don't need now Zoom. We can just Zoom everywhere and talk to people, do demos on spot like I could do right now. Let me show you my screen, and then they're like, oh, and they want to learn. There is a discovery call. Every call that I have with a marketing person is a discovery call, whether they know it or not. I can't give them a donut to be, but I can maybe make them smile and maybe give them some value that they haven't ever considered before, because they're not used to talking to a white label SEO. They're used to talking to other marketers that just sell directly to a business owner with a website, but they're not used to having a new partner coming in And so they're very open, going, oh, I should try. Oh, yeah, this is a good idea. I could see this working as a lead magnet. I could see this as a door approach. I could see this as value to add to my website now that I know and have a relationship with you, Mark, and what white label SEO Game does for me.
Perfect. All these years, 1996 till now, one company, we just mentioned, I'll go back to the AI part of it a little later, but right now, how did you sustain the business for so long? And what are the things that actually made you stick on to SEO Game and say that this is what it is, I don't need to change anything anymore?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, there have been times where there's been some rocky economies. When we hear about the dot-com bubble in 1999, 2000, when it popped, 2001, pop, boom. There was some shaking. There was a 9/11 event that happened. There was some economy disruption. It then went good again, and then 2008, 2009, we had another big bubble. It was in the States. It was called the housing bubble. Some bad politicians did some corrupt things. I don't want to name names, but I could. And I just felt like, boom, it popped again, right? And then we had, some corruption in the economy and a disruption in the world. And then we go through, life is good, getting everyone's getting their stream going again. And then boom, we go through a president change who doesn't like, things happen, a long period. Like, when's this president going to get, everyone's having, right now we're having a hard time. A lot of digital agencies some are doing really well, some are struggling. There's sometimes where you have the same industry that I work with digital marketing. Some marketing agencies say, I've never been busier in my life. And then the ones that were really busy in 2011 and 12 and 13 and 14, during those years, those were their glory years. And now they're not picking up AI and they're not getting new clients. And so, it's about being the best, with SEO Game, I'm always working on the best, but that's not always true. Sometimes I just fall on good luck. Like I get a really good client that carried me through. Or I went in-house and I became a fractional CMO for a little bit, and I went in-house and it carried me through some tough times in the housing bubble. When bubbles burst, people struggle. And so, and we might hear businesses right now today in 2026 struggling. And then you hear the others that are doing just fantastic. And luckily I'm working with both. I'm trying to help the struggling ones get back into it, try to help them as much as I can. And then the other ones, I'm just like going, wow, it's amazing how fast you were, just like a machine here. I don't know. And it's great, and I have clients that are like machines, and some of them need a little bit of oil underneath the hood, and they need a little bit more, because they're squeaking loud, and they're not producing anything. And they're wondering, they're emailing me all the time, what's going on with the economy? And I'm like, what's going on with you? Let's talk. We need to talk, So that's a little bit of a long answer, but a lot of it's just luck, being the best at what you can do, and then riding through some of those bubbles and basically maybe hunkering in and doing something that you don't really always want to do, but you keep the company going and you're ready to break out again when you need to.
Do you have a team working with you now?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'd like to keep that team just on the record. Just the team has been loyal with me for over 20 plus years. And they're the ones that innovate for me. A lot of times I need them to come up with a solution like AI search recommendations. We need to come up with this way to track and keep track of all the AI searches that are out there, and we need to be able to explain to the clients how it's checking all the AI search results and how it's getting recommended. That's all brand new in 2026. We built the whole service. I wouldn't be able to just plunk down $20,000 in fees, although I like helping my team pay those fees. But in fact, they look at me like, "Hey, you're Mr. Wallet. You have money. You help you help us pay for this if you want to keep up with us." But innovation is it's having the right team in place that says, "Hey, if we did this and we put X amount of hours in R&R, research and R&D, and we do what we need to get this built, and this will be our system, and we can replace this old system, we're going to be the best white label SEO company." So yeah, that's what I do with my team. I wouldn't know what to do without them.
And what is it about you as a person that they get to see?
Well, they have. I mean, they wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I pay for a lot of their bills, but I also introduce them to other people that can help them pay their bills too. So that helps as long as we have a working relationship. It's pretty open, and so I can't pay all of their bills and salaries and expenses, which is expensive to put a whole team in a room together and keep them working. That's the key to all of it, is keeping everyone in a room physically working, and they enjoy that. They enjoy each other. They've been friends and work colleagues for 20 plus years with me. So I keep them showing up, and they keep producing the best results that we offer for the clients. And I don't think we don't compete with other people. We dominate our competitors. We dominate in our services because no one does what SEO Game does. Not with the way we produce results and performance, the way we do it in record time, and the way we do it in what's called performance-based SEO. No rank, no pay. So we don't even get paid until all the results show up. And there's nobody even close that does that. So everybody else takes your money, keeps your fingers crossed, and then you pay out a lot of money and you just wonder if it's going to work. Our team does the exact opposite. We help that digital agency grow and scale their business with a partner like SEO Game that basically allows them to not take the risk anymore. The risk is on us to do all the performance, to get all the ranking so that they look good, and then they can close a deal, and then they close deals, then we get paid. And that's a little bit about what we've been doing to keep ourselves above everyone else.
You spoke about 20 plus years of loyalty. Now, loyalty is a very expensive currency these days. We hardly get loyalty, especially in the technology, space.
Mm-hmm.
Loyalty is very rare. How did you? I understand that there was a lot of bills that you paid, but other than that, I don't think money is the only thing that keeps a person loyal. So what is it that exactly, what do you think is that secret sauce that
Mm-hmm.
made the people remain loyal to you for 20 plus years, especially in the tech industry?
Yeah. Yes, and I appreciate that question. I would say when I screw up, because I'm the face of my company and I have a team behind me, and I make mistakes, it's quickly just figure out a way to resolve that mistake. And literally there are times when it's bad. I'm not gonna lie. There are times where it's bad. And if you're the captain of the ship and you have mutiny on your ship where you're on the plank and you're blindfolded, and the next step you're going to take is going to go in the crocodile fested waters, well, then you're no longer alive to be able to survive that, right? You've got to be able to beg and plead. You've got to be able to be humble. You got to come back. And I think that's the team. I think that team has seen a lot of my mistakes, and they know exactly where I screw up, right? Yeah, that's the loyalty. And plus, my team's pretty good at being loyal to me and just coming up with innovative ideas, out of the box ideas that are going to revolutionize this industry that we're in, because it's tough. I mean, there's thousands of companies that do what I do, right? I have to be the best. Now, anyone can say they're the best. You can buy your way to the top and say, well, we do more clients and we do this. And I speak to people all the time that say, oh, yeah, we do that. Oh, yeah, we do that. Oh, yeah, we do that. And I guarantee if we got, the loyalty factor is not going to be the same. They're doing it on a whim. They're doing it on a hope and a prayer. In my opinion, I know what I can do. I know how I service because my team is performance. We don't get paid until the owner of a business sees the results. Expectations are met. And then they say, yeah, I think I can kick in a $400 payment now. That's totally different than paying upfront fees, or something like that. So that's what keeps us. And then my team is loyal to that model. Although they don't like it sometimes. We want to get paid. We lose hours. We're trying to solve problems. We spend hours solving problems for clients, and then we get left holding the bag. It means just simply we get stuck with all the bills, and the client's moved on and doesn't want to pay us anymore, right? That's the problem of performance. But that's where I get in a little trouble, where we lose too many clients up front. But try and mitigate that a little bit. Cut our losses and move to the next client, because there's so many digital agencies that need our services, and we just move on from that. Let's wash our hands, move on.
Fantastic. I like this idea of washing your hands and moving on. That's the one learning I get. And the other learning I get is being humble, and if you screw up, then accept it and just figure out a way to solve it. These two things are my learnings from what you have just said about how to sustain your business and how to carry your business forward, and how to have people who are loyal to you and to your company. Amazing. Mark, just throwing you back to the time when you were a child, and from that Mark to this Mark today, are there any attributes that you have carried forward, or you have, developed on and found that these are the attributes that have stuck on and have really helped you?
There's one thing that comes to mind about that. And I would say when I was a young child, I could hide underneath the desk while I listened to my father talk on the phone as a sales rep. He was in his day, he was called the pill man. He sold pills to doctors, right? He'd go to the doctor office and he'd have his bag and he'd open up his pills. He'd give samples to the doctors, make appointments, and then he'd go home and he'd call them up and make his appointments and do it all over every single day. And it amazed me. I had no idea what he was ever talking about. He could just talk and tell the doctor, and they had a relationship. And that attribute of a young man saying, when I grow up, I'm going to have that experience where I'm talking to people. And now for my own 3 daughters, they're going to hear me. I'm going to be in their life where they're going to hear me in the other room or in the basement. And they're going to hear me talking, and they're having no idea what I'm talking about. But they're going to learn that one day they can go out and also be an expert in their field. And I've always tried to express that from my father, now being their father, to tell them, you can be an expert. You don't need to talk about, you get a higher level. You need to be an expert where you are the expert and they come to you. And your stuff inside and out. And even if you run into other experts that think they know more than you, you have loyalty, you have that confidence to be able to get yourself higher education in just street smart. It's just, you've got to be confident. Like I have a daughter right now in radiology, and she's an expert at radiology in the field, but I want her to be a higher radiologist. I want her to be an expert in radiology. I want her to be the expert's expert, the coach's coach. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
You probably have coaches that coach you. The coach's coach is the one who's the expert. And that's where in information, exchanging information. Because I could talk to any SEO company and they can start off the conversation saying, yeah, I already do what you do. And I go, oh, do you? And then I start throwing things and we unpeel the onion a little bit. And they're like, oh no, you do know a little bit more than I do. Why don't we try and experiment something, you know? And then it gives them the ideas of maybe I need to work with you, Mark, because you're not just talking talking out of your behind and just going off and making me feel uncomfortable. You're actually value bomb dropping. You're dropping something that I have not. I want to pick up on this. You connected with that. If I pop the pin off a grenade and threw it near your area of vicinity, you're going to feel the explosion, but it's going to catch you. You're going to catch it. You're going to catch that value bomb. And that's when I meet with people, I want to see head tilting. And I know I need to shut up and let them talk. Let them explain what they're trying to think, because they're just trying to figure out how to use my value into their business model so that we could start working together. If I keep talking, I'm going to miss that. I'm not going to get that opportunity to hear them practice their own words to say, Mark, I'm thinking of this one website I'm working on, or I'm thinking of this future company to work on. So that's what I learned from my early childhood.
Now that you've been working for so long and in one company, so that's become almost like a second skin for you. The SEO game is something which, if I were to be in your place, it would be more like my identity itself by now. So, like Mark Herre, SEO game performance, that would be how I would be, thinking of myself. How do you sustain yourself, not the business, yourself? How do you sustain your energy? How do you actually get up in the morning and say, okay, fine, this is going to be another day? What is it that makes you wake up and still look at SEO game with that same zest that you had when you started it in 1996?
I'm not going to lie. I mean, three days in a row, I have to get up at 5:40 in the morning, get ready, and be on a connective call where we network together, right? And that's 6 a.m. Try doing that 3 days in a row for years, at least, that's early morning networking. Some of my networking starts at 7, some of it starts at 8. And I sustain myself when I have periods, because I really don't like to keep calendar appointments before 10 o'clock. But, everybody wants to meet with me and I got appointments and I go, I got to fit you in here somehow. But when I have a little open time in the morning, I'm doing another thing. I'm a hobbyist. I have a hobby. So I'm writing and I'm going through and keeping Facebook. I've got 5 Facebook groups in my hobby. And so that's fun to just admin hobbies, in the Facebook group. That's totally separate, different. That's one thing that's satisfying to me, writing and being an admin in Facebook groups and focusing on that skill of what I do and like to write. Because guess what? When I do all my writing in the morning, when I fit it in, and I do now with AI, I love taking my writing and infographing it and putting graphic to it, using ChatGPT and using Midjourney and using some of my tools, and then going to Facebook and taking in my writing and then putting like a cameraman was right there taking a picture and not making the picture look AI, because I hate AI pictures, but I love when it can be a good AI image that I can create that doesn't look like AI. There's a way to do that. The people who put AI stuff out there that looks really crappy AI, that's my biggest pet peeve right there. So I have you can make AI pictures look real that no one knows that well, I would say people pick up on it, but it's not, AI is not that bad, the perfect yet, but I have a hobby. And then when I write a lot, sometimes I might write thousands of words that are potential publishing words. I have to put them in a Facebook group. I have the smallest Facebook group I have is hitting 10,000. That's the smallest one. The bigger ones are bigger, and people are going to critique my writing if it's a writing group. And so I better have good writing skills, right? If I'm adminning and I'm putting my stuff out there and they're going to read it. So I love writing. And then when do I get time to read my own writing? Well, I have to go end the day at 4 o'clock and go to the gym and go in the hot sauna and sit in that hot sauna. It's 160 degrees. And I'm sweating, but it takes me about 20, 25 minutes to read my own writing, and I'm making notes. And then I come home and I finish the day going, yeah, I got to finish that. And then let's check some emails and go to bed. And so I just do stuff like completely. I just I go from writing to running a company to writing to finishing up a day, and then, just keeping the family happy. Being able to work at home is a great thing for my family.
Have you ever thought of writing a book?
Oh, I've written 7 books, so it's fun. I need to rewrite those. I need another version. But yeah, that's another topic for maybe a Weston Lion, for instance.
Okay, so another time we'll have another conversation on this. And the last one that I want to pick on before we close is when did you realize that AI is going to play a very big role in our lives? Because you have been dabbling with technology for some time, so you must have realized it. And how do you fit it in? I almost heard a little bit about how you're fitting it in with your writing, but how did you fit it in SEO Game? And now, how do you use AI?
Yeah, currently I use AI to benefit the lives of the clients that I work with, because AI is what sells, even though it's not 100% perfect for a business owner with a website that we do SEO for, because it takes time to do it, but it's what keeps it's currently right now helping the digital agency say, "Whew, I'm so glad I have a partner that can take care of that. I can just sell it." And we're doing that, and there's no other service that's better. So I claim to say that I have the best AI search recommendation service for the clients I work with. How I realized that I had to get into it, it took me 2 or 3 years to get the product. We experimented with several deliverables of how to do it, but right now, currently, we have a good reporting tool that tracks 80 search recommendations per website. We want to make sure that the plumber, let's say if you're a plumber and we're working on your plumber website, you want to be number 1 for emergency plumber. Well, you better be recommended for emergency plumber if you're in a large city, like let's say Salt Lake City. And then the plumber is going to go and check their phone, and they're going to see if they're recommended, like they're going to use ChatGPT. They're going to type in the best Salt Lake City plumber, or what plumber is the best emergency plumber. That's a recommendation. So I have to be able to perform and get those results for the client, the plumber, the roofer, the HVAC. So I realized I had to have a tracking tool that could do that. I knew I could do it, but I knew I needed a tracking tool that could be a deliverable for the agencies that they could white label and send to the client in reports, monthly reports that show how improved. So that's, and you know what? It took forever to create a program and a tool, because there was no tool that existed, but we have one now.
Right. Well, today I think it's time. I think we can continue talking, and I would love to learn more about your books. So I think we'll wrap it up here with learning more about, and it was lovely because I'm sure my audience would have learned how to sustain one business for 30 years in today's world where things are changing and everything moves so quickly and people transform and all that. Sticking to one thing for 30 years is a major, major achievement, and congratulations for continuing to do that and sustaining yourself, and also learning about how you did it. What is the magic potion that you use and your secret sauces that you actually use to get this company's SEO game to where it is today. Lovely having a chat with you, Mark, and I hope you have another 30 years of fantastic stint going on ahead.
Thank you, Banya. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.